Welcome to the most exciting coin discovery of your life. Today, we're diving into the mysterious and ultra-rare bicentennial coins, an ordinary-looking coin with the power to make you a millionaire overnight. If you've got this hidden gem in your pocket, your entire future could change in an instant. Let's unlock the secrets behind this legendary piece of treasure. The year 1947 may seem like an ordinary moment in American history, coming just 2 years after the end of World War II, but for coin collectors, that year holds special significance. The 5-cent piece minted in 1947 occupies an important place in the timeline of United States currency as one of the early exemplars of the classic Jefferson Nickel series, itself only introduced a decade earlier in 1938. During a time when the nation was transitioning from wartime production back to peacetime prosperity, the nickel was a constant in everyday wallets. It was a coin people used to buy groceries, ride the bus, and save in jars, but few imagined that decades later it would become the focus of intense numismatic interest. Even heavily worn or dirty examples of this coin carry echoes of that era, telling stories of hands that used them and times that shaped them. What makes the 1947 nickel truly notable, even in rough condition, is its place within the broader evolution of American coinage. While it isn't one of the very first decimal coins in United States history, that distinction belongs to much older issues like the 1790 silver coins. It is part of the early wave of modern decimal circulation that followed major design reforms in the 20th century. The Jefferson design was a radical departure from the earlier Buffalo nickel and represented a new era of American coins that were meant to be both durable and meaningful in design. The obverse features a dignified portrait of Thomas Jefferson, one of the nation's founding fathers, while the reverse traditionally showcases Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, in a very worn or dirty condition. These features may be muted or barely recognizable, but the coin still carries the tangible imprint of American monetary history. One of the first things numismatists point out about the 1947 nickel is its composition. Unlike pennies of the same era, which were primarily copper, the nickel is a blend of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This composition gives the coin a distinct weight and feel that differentiates it from older nickel alloys or modern plated coins. Over time, as circulation took its toll, copper and nickel surfaces would oxidize, making some coins appear darkened, stained, or heavily discolored, conditions that many collectors describe as dirty. While purity and luster are prized in coin collecting, even very worn examples like these provide clues about where patterns, usage, and the environments they circulated through, making them fascinating subjects for study. Despite the severe wear that defines a very dirty condition, there remains a surprising market value for these coins when they're genuine and complete. Most casual collectors might assume that only pristine coins command real money, but the 1947 nickel challenges that assumption. In today's numismatic marketplace, authentic 1947 nickels, even those battered by decades of circulation, can range from roughly $1,000 on the lower end to $9,000 or more in extraordinary cases. Why does a coin that looks worse for wear still bring such prices? Part of it is scarcity. As time goes on, many coins simply disappear, are lost, or are melted. Others are destroyed or damaged beyond collectability. The survival of any example, especially one that still retains enough detail to be authenticated, makes it valuable, particularly to specialists of Jefferson Nickels or post-World War II coinage. The demand for these 1947 nickels, even in dirty condition, has grown consistently among collectors and investors alike. As numismatic education and global collecting communities expand, more people are discovering the historical and aesthetic value of mid-20th century coins. Collectors who focus on series completion may pursue a 1947 example regardless of its grade, while others seek interesting, where patterns and histories behind individual pieces. Serious investors, meanwhile, recognize that older coins with limited surviving populations, especially certified examples with known pedigrees, often appreciate in value over time. This demand pushes values upward, and coins that once circulated unnoticed now draw competitive interest at auctions and private sales. For anyone considering entering the world of coin collecting or investing, the 1947 nickel presents a compelling case study. First, condition matters greatly. Even within dirty examples, some coins may be more collectible than others based on remaining details, strike quality, and overall eye appeal. Having a coin certified and graded by reputable third-party services, such as NGC or PCGS, provides assurance about authenticity and helps establish market value. Grading standards may sound intimidating, but they essentially help buyers and sellers speak the same language about what constitutes very fine, good, or poor condition and how that affects price. Joining collector communities online or in local clubs also provides valuable insights, advice, and access to buying opportunities that might otherwise be difficult to find. Beyond the nuts and bolts of collecting, the 1947 nickel carries symbolic weight as a tiny artifact of American culture. Thousands of these coins passed through the hands of ordinary Americans in groceries, diners, laundromats, and streetcar rides. Each worn scratch or stain on its surface is a testament to the everyday economy of a post-war generation. For international collectors, too, American coins represent a chapter of global history tied to U.S. economic influence and cultural reach in the mid-20th century. These coins are not just metal, they are tangible pieces of lived experience from a pivotal era of world history. In the long view of numismatic investment, pieces like the 1947 nickel illustrate how objects, once dismissed as expendable, can become treasured assets. Cultural symbolism grows over time, and the rarity of surviving examples in any condition enhances desirability. Whether you're a seasoned collector seeking to fill a gap in your Jefferson Nickel set, or an investor looking for assets with historical depth and proven market appreciation, the 1947 5-cent piece offers both narrative richness and financial potential. Over decades, as fewer of these coins remain in circulation and more are secured in collections and vaults, their values are likely to continue their upward trajectory, making them not just relics of the past, but opportunities for the future. The 1961 United States 5-cent coin, commonly called the Jefferson Nickel, represents more than just pocket change. It carries a unique place in American numismatic history. Introduced in 1938, the Jefferson Nickel replaced the long-running Buffalo nickel and brought to life a new era of coinage designed by sculptor Felix Schlag. By 1961, this design had been minted for over 2 decades, embodying steady circulation through the everyday lives of Americans, from grocery runs to payphones. These coins aren't just metal, they are artifacts of post-World War II America, marking a period when everyday commerce still relied heavily on physical money. Despite being mass-produced, a 1961 nickel in very dirty and worn condition can still catch a sharp collector's eye, precisely because it survived decades of hands, pockets, and time. Copper isn't the main metal in this coin, but its composition is significant. Unlike the classic copper-nickel balance of modern nickels, the 1961 Jefferson is primarily 75% copper and 25% nickel, making it heavier and more substantial than coins composed later in different ratios. This combination gives the nickel its distinctive look and feel, a lasting tribute to the metallurgy standards of the mid-20th century. While not a precious metal coin like gold or silver, its rich copper core allows die details to age differently, meaning even worn, dirty examples can show fascinating remnants of the original design, from Jefferson's portrait to Monticello on the reverse. In dirty examples, the surfaces often blend years of patina, grime, and circulation marks into a textured record of real historical use. What makes a 1961 nickel in very dirty condition unexpectedly valuable is its rarity in the context of condition and survival. Unlike high-grade examples that are carefully preserved, dirty and worn coins tell real stories of use. Most circulated nickels suffer corrosion, scratches, or environmental damage that obliterates detail, and many were simply lost or discarded during melt periods or coin recalls. Yet collectors prize these imperfect survivors for their authenticity. In the world of numismatics, a coin's condition heavily dictates value, and while pristine specimens of 1961 nickels might sell for modest premiums, a genuinely older, well-circulated coin that still retains identifiable design features becomes a bridge to the past, often sparking competitive bids among enthusiasts. The market value of a 1961 nickel can vary dramatically based on how much of the original detail remains, even when the coin appears rough or dirty to the untrained eye. For everyday examples, you might expect face value or just above, but for coins that maintain a degree of readable lettering or discernible Monticello outlines despite heavy wear, values can range roughly from $1,000 to $9,000 or more in the eyes of serious collectors. These are not average street finds, but rather pieces that attract those who specialize in type collections, circulation survivors, and coins with compelling stories. Prices spike further when such pieces achieve unexpected grades from major certification services, even in very worn categories like good or about good, because they are so uncommon for their series and type. Investment potential in coins like the 1961 nickel isn't purely speculative. It's rooted in scarcity, collector demand, and cultural resonance. While stocks and cryptocurrencies fluctuate wildly, rare coins like this anchor value in scarcity and the continuous, passionate interest of the numismatic community. Over the last decade, interest in mid-20th century issues has grown, partly because they bridge the gap between classic antique coins and modern collectible series. Serious investors in physical numismatics always stress the three pillars of wise collecting: understanding condition, relying on professional certification, and studying grading standards. A certified 1961 nickel with high eye appeal, even if dirty, can reliably outperform lesser, uncertified pieces when auction season arrives. For collectors just starting, or those aiming to deepen their expertise, some practical advice can make all the difference. First, always prioritize condition. A dirty coin might look unappealing, but if the essential features are intact, it can be a gem in disguise. Second, seek professional certification from reputable services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, to authenticate and grade your finds. A certified grade adds credibility and liquidity. Third, learn the official grading standards so you can spot where levels accurately, from barely readable inscriptions to near-flat design elements. And finally, join collector communities, both local clubs and online forums, to learn from seasoned collectors and get access to trades, insights, and valuation trends you won't find in guidebooks. Beyond numbers and grades, the 1961 Jefferson Nickel, in very worn condition, carries a powerful cultural symbolism. These coins were in the pockets of everyday Americans during transformative decades, the Cold War era, the dawn of the space age, and the rise of rock and roll in modern consumer culture. In Europe, Asia, and beyond, American coins evoke a sense of cultural export and influence. International collectors often seek U.S. coins not only for value, but for the story of a nation that shaped much of the 20th century. A humble nickel, once overlooked, becomes a tangible memory of global interconnection when it finds its way into collections thousands of miles from the U.S. Long-term value appreciation for coins like the 1961 nickel isn't guaranteed in the short term, but the trends favor those who think historically and patiently. As more collectors focus on completeness, condition rarity, and certified authenticity, the premium for well-documented examples, even those that appear dirty at first glance, continues to climb. This isn't just about the metal in your hand. It's about owning a piece of American heritage that speaks to changing times, evolving technologies, and the enduring passion of numismatists worldwide. For anyone watching this video, whether a seasoned investor or a curious newcomer, understanding the depth and richness behind coins like the 1961 5-cent piece is your gateway to appreciating why numismatics remains one of the most fascinating and rewarding collecting worlds out there. The 1962 United States 5-cent piece, more commonly known as the Jefferson Nickel, holds a fascinating place in numismatic history. Though it doesn't carry the same lofty name recognition as the 1794 silver dollar or the 1909 VB Lincoln cent, this nickel belongs to a series that reflects a pivotal era of design and cultural transition. First struck in 1938, the Jefferson Nickel replaced the Buffalo nickel and proudly showcased Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, commemorating the third president's legacy at a moment when America was reshaping its identity. By 1962, the Jefferson design had been firmly rooted in American coinage for nearly a quarter century, representing the nation's enduring democratic ideals, westward exploration, and intellectual heritage. What elevates the 1962 Jefferson Nickel, especially in very dirty condition, into the realm of value and intrigue is the way numismatists and collectors interpret condition versus character. Most casual observers would see a dirty coin as worn, corroded, or unattractive, perhaps relegated to spare change or a forgotten drawer. Yet within the specialized world of coin collecting, such surfaces can tell stories no pristine specimen ever could. They reflect circulating life, environmental interaction, and surviving adversity. A heavily handled 1962 nickel speaks to decades of journeys through pocketbooks, cash registers, and decades of American transactions, an unpolished relic of everyday history that can be surprisingly desirable precisely because of its lived texture. Unlike earlier 5-cent coins that included silver during wartime years from 1942 to 1945, the 1962 nickel was composed primarily of 75% copper and 25% nickel, solidly situating it in the long line of standard copper-nickel-clad coins. This composition gives the piece its distinctive weight and slightly warm hue compared with pure nickel bullion, and the metal blend has implications for both how the coin ages and how collectors evaluate it. Copper-rich alloys can develop toning, patina, and even verdigris when exposed to moisture and time, which in the hands of the right collector can be seen as desirable provenance rather than mere blemish. Yet this same composition means that the coin isn't made of precious metals, which places its value squarely in the eyes of collectors and market demand rather than intrinsic metal worth. Market values for a 1962 nickel in typical circulated condition are modest, but when we talk about very dirty coins that have nonetheless caught the eye of specialists, prices can range dramatically, from approximately $1,000 to as much as $9,000 or more. This might seem extraordinary for a piece that many would dismiss at face value, but in numismatics, rarity is not only about statistical mintage figures. It's about survival, condition rarity within specific grades, and collector appetite. A soiled specimen that retains unexpected details on Jefferson's portrait or the Monticello reverse despite heavy wear may attract competitive bids from seasoned collectors seeking unique character combined with rarity. Understanding how condition and certification impact value is essential for anyone intrigued by the investment potential of coins like this. Professional grading services, such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, evaluate coins on strict scales that take into account strike quality, wear, surface preservation, and overall eye appeal. Even a dirt-laden 1962 nickel that appears rough to a novice can be graded and encapsulated if it meets particular criteria for originality and authenticity. Collectors seeking lucrative returns should prioritize certified examples because grading provides a standardized benchmark that the global market trusts, reducing uncertainty and increasing liquidity when buying, selling, or trading. For those drawn into numismatics by stories of historic American coinage, joining communities, both online and in person, can deepen understanding and sharpen judgment. Forums, collector clubs, coin shows, and specialized auctions offer opportunities to learn about grading subtleties, identify desirable surface characteristics, even in dirty coins, and network with experienced enthusiasts who can share knowledge that books alone cannot convey. Field experience calibrated by community insight often uncovers gems that casual collectors overlook. And in the coin world, spotting hidden value is a skill that pays dividends over time. The broader importance of this 1962 5-cent coin in numismatic history extends beyond its copper composition or its market price. It represents an era when American coin designs were transitioning toward modern interpretation, while still rooted in the nation's historical narrative. The Jefferson Nickel series bridged a generation, from post-Great Depression recovery through the mid-20th century optimism, and coins like the 1962 issue are snapshots of that continuity. Even heavily worn or dirty, specimens bear silent testimony to the hands they passed through during decades of daily use, making them cultural artifacts as much as collector items. Finally, the enduring appeal of the 1962 nickel among collectors worldwide speaks to its cultural symbolism, international appeal, and long-term value appreciation. Coins like this are not just metal discs. They are storytellers, connectors to eras long past, and tangible links to collective memory. International collectors prize American numismatic pieces for their historical resonance and market depth, breathing global demand into coins that might otherwise be overlooked. For investors willing to delve beyond surface impressions and respect the nuanced dance between rarity, condition, and provenance, the 1962 Jefferson Nickel, even in its roughest states, can offer not just financial return, but a deeper appreciation of America's numismatic legacy. The 1988 United States 5-cent piece, commonly known as the Jefferson Nickel, occupies a unique place in American numismatic history. Though at first glance it may appear ordinary, a modest coin struck during a year of relative economic stability, its story resonates deeply because the nickel is one of the first truly decimal coins adopted for everyday commerce in the United States. Since the early days of the Republic, American currency embraced decimalization, which set the U.S. apart from many European monetary systems that used non-decimal subdivisions. The Jefferson Nickel, introduced originally in 1938 to honor President Thomas Jefferson, continued this tradition into the late 20th century, and even late dates like 1988 have become significant to collectors because they are the culmination of decades of this design's uninterrupted circulation. While most 1,988 nickels exchanged hands in pocket change, soaked in soda, dropped on asphalt, or buried in drawers, those that have survived to the present day in very dirty condition tell a different kind of story. Dirty, in numismatic terms, doesn't simply imply grime. It conveys heavy wear, environmental damage, oxidation, and surface contamination that prevents the coin from gleaming. At first blush, a filthy 1988 nickel might seem worthless, a relic relegated to a jar of forgotten loose change. Yet for specialists and seasoned collectors, such pieces are fascinating artifacts, physical witnesses to decades of real-world circulation bearing the marks of everyday American life. The composition of the 1988 nickel plays a key role in its enduring appeal. Unlike earlier coins that contained silver, the Jefferson nickel of this era is primarily a copper-nickel alloy, consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded over a pure copper core. This composition gives the coin its characteristic weight, color, and resistance to corrosion, yet it also makes it susceptible to distinctive patinas and surface changes when exposed to harsh environments. These patinas, sometimes greenish, brown, or almost black, can add to the visual intrigue of a dirty specimen and create a palpable sense of authenticity that many collectors find irresistible. When it comes to rarity and market value, the story becomes even more compelling. A typical circulated 1988 nickel might be worth only its face value, 5 cents, to the average person. However, in the specialized world of numismatics, even a heavily worn or dirty example can command astonishing prices under the right circumstances. Pieces with unusual strikes, off-center designs, doubled features, or unusual surface anomalies can fetch anywhere from $1,000 up to $9,000 or more, depending on collector interest and the severity and nature of the imperfections. This wide range reflects not only the scarcity of noteworthy specimens, but also the market's recognition of their narrative value and uniqueness. For anyone considering venturing into collecting or investing in coins like the 1988 nickel, understanding grading and certification standards is essential. Professional grading services, such as PCGS or NGC, evaluate coins based on condition, strike quality, surface preservation, and eye appeal, all of which directly impact value. A dirty coin that shows distinct mint errors, die breaks, or patterns discernible beneath grime can be far more valuable than an unremarkable clean specimen. It's important for collectors to avoid harsh cleaning methods that strip away original surfaces. What might seem to improve appearance can actually destroy numismatic value. Instead, preservation and proper storage, combined with expert certification, are key. Connecting with a broader community also enriches the collecting experience. Joining forums, local coin clubs, online auction platforms, and attending coin shows not only exposes you to a wide range of coins, but also teaches you to spot subtle details that distinguish an ordinary nickel from an extraordinary one. Experienced collectors can share insights into die varieties from the 1988 mints, telltale signs of originality versus post-mint damage, and market trends that affect pricing. These social and educational networks not only help you make informed purchases, but also foster a deeper appreciation for the craft and history of numismatics. Beyond monetary considerations, the 1988 nickel, especially unique, well-worn examples, carries profound cultural symbolism. It represents the everyday transactions of millions of Americans across decades. Lunch counters, vending machines, bus fares, and humble tips. A dirty 1988 nickel is not just metal. It embodies the texture of American life in the late 20th century, a snapshot of a time before digital wallets and credit cards became ubiquitous. Its wear and patina tells stories of hands that held it, places it traveled, and the passage of time itself. Finally, the international appeal and long-term value appreciation of coins like this cannot be overstated. Collectors from around the world seek American coins for their historical significance, innovative designs, and the story they tell about U.S. identity and economic evolution. Rare nickels from late dates such as 1988 offer a bridge between modern currency and collectible art. Over time, as surviving specimens continue to diminish in number and as global interest in numismatics grows, the value of truly exceptional pieces, even those in dirty condition,